And today, we ask a dangerous, almost heretical question. Does God love the rich more than the poor? The evidence, at least on the surface, seems damning. The wealthy live in mansions, command armies of lawyers and lobbyists, and enjoy feasts that rival royal banquets of old. Meanwhile, the poor shuffle between underpaid jobs, barely afford rent, and cling desperately to sermons that promise reward in the afterlife. So we must ask, if the Almighty is just, why does His apparent favor always seem to tilt toward the bank accounts of the already powerful? Is divine blessing simply another word for inheritance, privilege, and exploitation? Or is the plight of the poor the ultimate cosmic joke where salvation comes only in death, while the rich enjoy heaven on earth? This is not about mocking faith itself. It is about dissecting the structures of belief that have been weaponized to maintain inequality. It is about asking why the chosen ones are always those who happen to control the land, the gold, and the treasury. So buckle in, dear viewer. Today, we pull back the velvet curtain on the theater of religion and welfare tragicomedy, where God allegedly blesses billionaires, while telling the poor to rejoice in their suffering. The prosperity gospel, or how God learned the counting. The prosperity gospel, delightful invention of the modern pulpit. According to its preachers, God is essentially the divine investment banker. Donate to the church, and God will multiply your wealth. Give surely, and you too will someday own a Mercedes-Benz and a 10-bedroom mansion. The rich, therefore, are not simply lucky. They are blessed. Their money is not the product of ruthless exploitation or generational privilege. No, it is the evidence of God's smile upon their portfolio, and the poor. Well, if you're broke, clearly you haven't prayed enough, tithed enough, or hustled hard enough. Poverty, in this twisted theology, is a sign of moral and spiritual failure. Never mind that Jesus himself said, "Blessed are the poor." Somehow, modern pastors have managed to reinterpret those words as "blessed are the poor" until they donate. Then God will fix their bank accounts. What a clever system. The wealthy are sanctified by their wealth, while the poor are blamed for their lack of it. The rich are God's alleged favorites. Let us examine the rich. Kings, emperors, tycoons, Silicon Valley moguls, Wall Street traders, and televangelists. They live as though God himself wired their Swiss bank accounts. When the stock market soars, they declare, "God has blessed our hard work." When the stock market crashes, they lobby governments for bailouts, which conveniently are funded by taxes paid disproportionately by the poor. Again, God provides. Look at America's myth. They preach humility on Sunday and then step into private jets on Monday. Their defense: if Jesus were alive today, he wouldn't ride on the he'd fly first class. Yes, of course. Why endure the inconvenience of sandals when God clearly prefers Italian leather shoes? The rich are not only blessed, they are proof of divine favor. Their palaces, yachts, and estates are not vulgar displays of greed, but holy testaments of God's generosity. And so long as the flock keeps believing this narrative, the shepherd may continue sharing them. The poor God's eternal punchline. Now let us turn to the poor. For them, religion functions less as a blessing and more as a painkiller. You may not have bread today, but don't worry, you'll dine at a heavenly banquet someday. You may not afford medicine for your sick child, but fear not, God heals the soul, even if the body fails. You may toil your entire life without savings, but rejoice, your treasure is stored in heaven. In other words, endure your suffering, for your reward comes later. How convenient for the ruling class. While the poor wait for pie in the sky after death, the rich feast on actual pies here and now. Religion, in this arrangement, is not liberation, it's anesthesia. It numbs the pain of poverty, while keeping the poor docile, obedient, and eternally hopeful. This is not to mock the faith of the poor, which is often sincere, profound, and beautiful. It is to expose the way their faith is manipulated into compliance. The poor believe God loves them, but society and often the church hierarchy treats them as expendable. Jesus, the awkward socialist, but here comes the great irony. Jesus himself didn't seem to favor the rich at all. He warned that it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. He told the wealthy young ruler to sell all he had and give it to the poor. He flipped the tables of money changers in the temple. By today's standards, Jesus would be branded a dangerous socialist, an agitator, maybe even a communist sympathizer. He did not promise mansions in Beverly Hills. He promised struggle, sacrifice, and solidarity with the marginalized. And yet, centuries later, his name is invoked by those who built empires of wealth in his honor. Jesus, the champion for the poor, has been refashioned into the mascot of the rich. Satire of divine economics lectures. Imagine God as the CEO of Earth Inc. The rich are his executive team. CEOs, presidents, kings. They receive bonuses, yachts, and golden parachutes. The poor are the unpaid interns, working endlessly for experience points to be redeemed only after death. Churches are the branch offices, collecting membership fees and promising heavenly pensions. The corporate motto, suffer now, rejoice later. It is a brilliant business model, really. It requires no proof of delivery, no refund policy, and no actual redistribution of wealth. It runs entirely on faith. Why the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor? The system perpetuates itself through three clever mechanisms. Theological justification. The rich are told their wealth is God's blessing. The poor are told their suffering is God's test. Both accept their roles. Institutional reinforcement. Churches, rather than challenging inequality, often reinforce it by cozying up to wealthy donors and politicians. Cultural narrative. Stories of rags to riches convince the poor that with enough faith and hard work, they too might be blessed. The exceptions are paraded as proof, while the millions shall never escape poverty are blamed for their lack of faith. Thus, the cycle continues. God blesses the rich. The poor are left waiting. The cruel comedy of inequality, and so humanity stumbles forward in this grand cosmic comedy. The rich pray for more blessings, somehow receive them. The poor pray for relief and are told relief awaits in heaven. Pastors preach generosity, build empires on the generosity of others. Meanwhile, the teachings of Jesus, radical, unsettling, revolutionary, are sanitized into slogans, faithful bumper stickers. His warnings about wealth are ignored. His compassion for the poor is lip service. His life of poverty is rewritten into a theology of prosperity. The irony is so fake, it could be cut with a golden chalice. So, does God truly bless the rich while the poor suffer? Or has religion, at least in practice, been hijacked to justify the inequality of society? Here with humanity's memory, we dare to suggest that the problem is not God, not faith itself, but the way both have been weaponized. The rich are not favored by heaven, they are favored by structures of power that cleverly wear the mask of religion. The poor are not cursed, They are manipulated into believing that suffering is holy. The real question is not whether God blesses the rich, but whether humanity will continue to accept this twisted narrative. For perhaps the true blessing is not wealth at all, but the courage to see through the illusion. So ask yourself, dear listener, if Jesus walked among us today, would he be dining with 德野男神乃蟠桃是说 breaking bread with the poor in the shelters? And more importantly, whose side would you be on?